Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I haven't posted a whole week, but I have something really special for you today. It has taken me a while, but I was able to finally figure out how to link API from a different website to a GPT for us to kind of get the information for zoning. So as some of you maybe have seen in other videos, I created a custom GPT that can provide zoning analysis for, in that case, was for the city of Santa Barbara. The easy thing about that was that most of the information was in PDFs or in other references that it was very easy to locate. So I was just able to train the GPT on those items, and it was able to give me all that information. The only problem that I found was that, for instance, for APN or something like that, I will actually need to connect to the city and do a web search. But along the web search, the GPT, once I activated the web search, it will actually go and look that information on Zillow or other things because it was not able to connect really to the city and actually identify the location and the zone or the data that I was wanting to locate, but it was instead trying to go to Zillow or Redfin or whatever, despite of me telling it not to go there, because it was just not able to get the APN information, the assessor's parcel map information from that. And I realized that a lot of the projects that we have are like that. We need the APN or an acre or something that is not maybe in a PDF, is something based on a geolocation website that, generally speaking, other cities or counties work with these geolocation websites that can help them manage all that information in there. So in this case, the city of Santa Barbara had the ArcGIS extension, so they have all the information there that I'm going to show you, and I was able to finally link that API there. So this video, first of all, I'm going to show you if it actually, well, it's actually working, but I'm going to show you how it works, and then I'll show you how I actually was able to do this. It will be very, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it was very difficult. It was very difficult, especially for someone like my background that I don't know any programming and I don't know anything about anything. Like, the only thing I'm really good at the computer maybe just to do some ArchiCAD and you know, the just generally millennium stuff that is checking out emails, and that I feel comfortable in that sense with the computer. But when it comes to programming or things like that, I'm clueless. So I did rely a lot on ChatGPT to kind of help me do the programming and a lot of things. So a lot of things that I'm gonna explain to you are very surface level, and I still don't have an understanding on how it works in the back end. So if I do any mistake as far as the programming part or anything like that, just know that I'm learning, and I just did all these through an LLM that was able to kind of help me through the process of it. So I have done this twice already for the city and the county. The great thing is, like, once you do it once, the next part becomes very similar, so you kind of build upon what you did at the beginning. It's just the first part, the first time, it really takes hours and it takes time. But for instance, so here's the configuration of it, and I'll show you this later. But for instance, I was trying to locate an APN here. So for instance, 30, I think it was north, I think this was the address, but I am not sure. So I know that this address is located in the county of Santa Barbara. Oh, actually, in the county of Santa Barbara. So I tested this address a few times. Actually, it's 23. Now that I know, it's 23 San Marcos. So I might actually not get it right. But you see how it's calling right now the HTTP endpoint? That's actually connected to a server that is online 24/7 for it to retrieve the information. So he's actually calling there, then translated that information into coordinates, then is translating those coordinates into the county of Santa Barbara information, and then the city of Santa Barbara information, the county of Santa Barbara information is bringing all this information in. So all this information is coming from there. Now, actually, the address was not that. I think it was 23 North San Marcos, Santa Barbara. I think it was 23 San Marcos. But you see how it's calling? Yeah, you see, now you got it right. I did not, I couldn't remember that information. But this was the thing. I really needed to get this APN and all that based on an API and not in Zillow or thing, because at the end of the day, whenever you are looking into information, you want to make sure you're getting it from where you will normally look at, right? So that's the thing that is going to make AI reliable. Like, I feel the first time I created this product and give it to some architects, there was an 8% chance that AI was going to get it right, but that 80% chance is still not enough for an architect to really feel comfortable using it. But now that I was able to finally connect the APIs into a custom GPT, now it's a lot more reliable because it's literally bringing information from the API of the map. So I'm not saying it's still 100% accurate. It might still make mistakes, but it's just kind of like a human sort of level mistakes where it's probably going to be 95% right, not that different that if you give somebody capable to check that for you and it brings back and that person knows how to do it, 95%, 99% of the time is going to do it right. That person might have had a bad day one day, didn't do it correctly. So, but you see how he has that information there. And he has that information there. Then the other information, it's something you can look at it from somewhere else. But the important thing is like that information, maybe all this, I can get it from somewhere, PDFs or something, but the information from here is really coming from this map here, right? So if I go to 23 North San Marcos, Santa Barbara, you're gonna realize, oh, okay, so here's the 23 San Marcos, right? I had to do this also, it's kind of for my general, but this is the San Marcos website, and this is the one that we got. So you can tell like it's getting the right API address, it's getting the right right information, it's getting the DR10, so it's getting all the right information. And this is kind of what I want to show you guys, so you guys can hopefully understand that it's possible. I know that a lot of people say like, well, if I need to create an API, it like just looks very complicated. And the truth is that it is. But if you spend 2 or 3 days working on it, you can get it. And once it's there, it's done, it's automated. And then unless the city changes something, you're fine. So, okay, so let me explain to you, and let me try to explain you this step by step of how you can do this, right? And get this. Now, if you are able to, like the city of Santa Barbara, where you're able to get, not the APN address. For the city of Santa Barbara, I still had to do this API key, but a lot of times for the cities or something, especially smaller cities, you don't really are gonna need this API key. You can get a lot of the information from PDFs, but there's gonna be times where you might need that information from an API. So hopefully these principles apply. So first of all is to see where does the city have the information stored, right? Step number one is go and see where the city has the information stored. So in my case, as I mentioned before, I'm doing this for the city of Santa Barbara. The information that the city has stored, the county of Santa Barbara has stored, is in this map, is an ArcGIS map. You can see Santa Barbara County land use of zoning map. So here's where they have all the information here from for the county of Santa Barbara, and they do have the parcel area. So for the city of Santa Barbara, you can see that they have the APN. So that's the information I retrieved for the custom GPT that I did for the city of Santa Barbara. I retrieved, but I had to retrieve the other information as far as the zoning and other things from other sources. In this case, they were PDFs or other data that was not as complicated as getting an API key. But for instance, for the county of Santa Barbara, then is when you start kind of playing with this. The county of Santa Barbara does not have a PDF, right, where you can get the zoning because it's so big that they actually have to rely on something like ArcGIS to actually provide the information. Now, something that, how to get these, right? How do you know that they have an open GIS? So honestly, you have to test it. So a way that I was able to do this is, so for instance, my first question on the kind of Santa Barbara is, how do I get the zoning, right? So hopefully your city has something like this where you have layers of locating the zoning and the APN address and all these things. So For my particular case, hopefully this applies to you, but I wanted to get the zoning, right? So you see how the zoning is labeled here, right? So if I wanted to get specific zoning, I needed to do that. I needed to locate that. So for me, you just have to kind of press in the three dots here and description, and all the websites, and this is something you can ask ChatGPT. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just have surface answers, and I will ask you, you can rely on an LLM to start giving you these answers. I'm not a programmer. I know the basics about computer stuff. So if I could do it, I'm sure you can do it too. You just have to ask the right questions to the LLM so it gives you the right answers. Think about it like a partner that actually knows programming, that actually knows what he's talking about. So you just have to ask the questions. So the thing I asked the LLM is like, hey, I have this website. How can I get an open key API or open API key for these? And then it explained me, oh, just go here and go to the three dots and, you know, go to description, and I click that and gave me this. Then the LLM pretty much says like, okay, these one here, it's your open API, right? Now it might be different from depending where you are and everything. So here's my open API, my open REST API key, and I copy this. So now I have the first step. So the first step is getting a REST API key from the ArcGIS or whatever your city is storing it. Generally speaking, just ask the LLM how to get it, and it will guide you how to get the open REST. Hopefully, most of the key APIs, especially for public websites like this, that it's open to the public. Most of them are going to be public and open. Very few, I think, are going to be restrictive. But once you get that, right, just put it in a notepad. Go to a notepad and copy it, and make sure you save it as hey, this is the one. Now, something that I learned that you should do it now, because I had to learn it later, is that look at all the information that it has, the zoning labels. But let's say later on you realize the zoning labels, well, you're not actually also getting, I wish I could get the land use designation labels too. So for that, you have to go to this one here, and notice how it changes here, because now instead of zoning it says land use poly, luso, whatever, but it changes that. So go, whenever you have your provider on this, make sure you, in your notepad, get all the layers that you want, right? Like the ones that you really need, that are happening most of the time you actually need to automate. If there's like one thing where, you know, like floodway, something, or FEMA, something that you don't do a lot of things, you know, like maybe you don't need to automate it, right? But just the main things like zoning, land use, general plan, I mean, you can do as much as you can, but to start, I will say you start with the most common ones, with the maybe top 3 or 4 most common ones. And once you have those API keys, just save them in a notepad so you don't have to go back again and redo those. So that's step number